Toku Secrets is a podcast run by the Anime Secrets website. Check us out at animesecrets.org for more anime, video game, tokusatsu content. Remember to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts today.
Hey everybody, it's Jason from Power Rangers Time Force, and you're watching Toku Secrets Podcast.
Tokusatsu, taking the form of many shows including Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, and Metal Heroes. And today, a group of fans come together to review it for you as Toku Secrets.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Toku Secrets Podcast presented by AnimeSecrets.org. I'm your host, Nathan Desa, and today we are back to another one of our monthly podcasts where we take a look at the current Sentai that is airing, Ohsama Sentai King-Ohger. We are looking at episodes 13 through 21. I can't remember all the episodes that we reviewed last time, but we did it up to 12. We got the whole crew on here again. I'll let them say hi, hey real quick. Go ahead. Introduce yourself, guys.
Oh. Hello. Pat Chinkin Red here.
All right.
Hey guys, Red Swan Gokai Red here.
It's Anthony Davis, aka Kill Your Green, and I was right. My theory was right. I freaking knew it. Yes!
Yeah, Anthony predicted something in this batch of episodes that ended up becoming true.
Yay, Anthony. He knew something.
Yeah, I remember that. Riz and I were recording a podcast for Rebel Season 1, and Anthony called me in the middle of that recording. Thankfully my phone was on vibrate, but I do.
My bad. I didn't even know that was even happening at the time. You were asleep.
Right.
So wait, you called him when you thought Nathan was sleeping?
No, when he didn't answer, I thought he slept.
Oh, okay.
Right. But anyway, I'm gonna give a brief recap. Now, just a bit of a update, guys. This will be the last King-Ohger podcast that we do, where we do like a big batch of episodes. Because not our next podcast, but one of the podcasts after that, we're just gonna do a short one on 22, and then just keep doing a short episode one every week. Probably like maybe 45 at most minutes long on each of the new episodes, depending on how long it takes. But this is our last big batch of King-Ohger episodes. So yeah, we got a lot to talk about, a lot of good stuff to talk about for a change, which we need because of Geo-Ranger. So
also, can we just take a moment to recognize the fact that this is episode 99 of the podcast?
Yep. And for the 100th episode, we've actually been debating. We wanted to do like a theme song review, but then just like on the fly, before we started recording this, we decided we're going to do a tiering for all of our favorite and least favorite Red Power Rangers. So we're definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. So look forward to that coming out next week probably.
Yep. But anyway, so a lot happened in King-Ohger last time, and a lot happens here too. This Sentai is incredibly story heavy. I'll give a brief recap. So we had an arc where Gira was put on trial by combat by Rackless. He was framed as an ally of the Bugnarok, and he was supposedly killed, but he actually survived. There was this whole thing where the other King-Ohgers, the other four, were trying to kidnap Gira and keep them for themselves so that he can use the Shoe Gods for them. But then they all decided that they would work together to protect their people, and that allowed them to form Ultimate King-Ohger. Then in another saga of episodes, they encountered a mysterious man in a spider mask who was revealed to be Jeremy Brasiri. He is a self-declared king who rules over everything and a storyteller who's written all these legends for the King-Ohgers. And then it turns out later that he is apparently the child of a sixth King-Ohger. So a while back there was a sixth King-Ohger and he fell in love with a Bugnarok, and because of that he got exiled, and all record of him was wiped. And then that King-Ohger and the Bugnarok had a child who was Jeremy, and Jeremy, since he's half human, half Bugnarok, wants to get peace between the two of them. And Jeremy also has the ability, he got these keys from the Shoe Gods to unlock his father's powers, and he's able to become a 6th King-Ohger, a white King-Ohger, Spider Kumonos. So he's based on a spider. So that was pretty cool, and we had a lot of cool things to say about Spider Kumonos. I mean, spoiler alert, well, actually no, I think this podcast is already up. Riz already said that Spider Kumonos is his favorite 6th Ranger in our little dry thing, so... Yeah. So yeah, let's jump in. We're going to start off with episode 13, Angry Spider, where so the episode kind of starts off with Jeremy is getting he's starting to warm up to the King-Ohgers. Most of this episode is him like kind of just screwing around with Yama and Inkosopa. But then, unfortunately, he turns on the King-Ohgers when a fight erupts between them and the Ragnarok. We learn a little bit more about Yama's backstory. There's a flashback where apparently his kingdom was this rundown land that was used to manufacture technology and was constantly like pushed around by Shugodom. But then Yama's mentor, an old man named Gin, taught him everything about technology, and that led him to rising to power. And that's when he said, no, we're going to be, we're a strong kingdom and we won't be bullied by Shugodom. So that happens. And we get more of a fleshing out of Jeremy's little story where, he becomes really angry when the King-Ohgers and the Ragnarok are fighting, and he vows that, he has to defeat, like, if he has to defeat them both and force them to stop fighting, he'll do it. This actually leads to his own mech appearing, a spider mech called the God Tarantula. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. And he also befriends this monster called Girojin, who will end up being kind of his assistant for, I guess, the rest of the series. And yeah, that's about it for this episode. And I just spoke for a little bit. So anybody want to give their thoughts on this episode first? You guys can go ahead.
I'll start off since I thought Patrick would go first. But Patrick can go first. He's unmuted now. Okay, I guess you
go ahead, Riz.
Okay. So, I really enjoyed picking up where we left off in the last one with some more plot-driven stuff. I was kind of concerned that we would stop getting as much plot, so it's a nice surprise to continue getting it. I definitely think Jeremy is turning into a really great character. The fact that he could steal their calibers is pretty sweet to me, because that shouldn't have been as easy as it was to steal. But can we just take a moment to reflect on the fact that King-Ohger Yellow, I'm blanking on her name, Himeno, was able to get him back, like, on her own. I thought that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I don't think that happens until the next episode, but still.
You know what? It's fine.
Yeah.
These episodes all run together in my mind.
They really do. Connected.
That's the problem here. It's like, we can't just talk about one episode in a vacuum, because there's no... It's this week is about this character, next week is about this character. It's all so story-driven, and everyone's so involved that you really can't. Mm-hmm. And that's the big beauty of King-Ohger so far, is it's so story-driven. I'm not used to this. Especially after looking at garbage like Zero Ranger, and I'm looking at you, Geki Ranger.
There it is.
You knew it had to happen.
You want to say anything, Patrick?
Truth be told, I don't remember anything about this episode.
Really? It felt more like
it did. Yeah, like, I'm not going to use the term filler because that's not what it was, but it definitely felt like it was like a transitional episode. Like it didn't really do much. So I don't really have much to say about it.
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't anything wrong with it. It's just compared to what we had before and after, it's just kind of there.
Yeah.
Like I said, I just love the fact that Jeremy is just demolishing these guys, and it's very impressive that he's able to just do this on his own. Like, he's showing how like strong of a Sixth Ranger he is. You know, like I mean, maybe later down the line he might lose, but like at least for now he's still pretty much like on top.
And that's the thing you want for a Sixth Ranger following this trope. If you have a Sixth Ranger who's not immediately like part of the main team, and they're kind of at odds with the rest of the team, thinking of like, you know, Jeremy or I'm assuming Timefire will be the same way when we get to that and next Sentai we watch, where there's a lot of like conflict and he has to stand on his own 2 feet. So I'm kind of thinking that'll be the same thing there. And that's a really good thing because unlike other teams where, like, for example, Guy and Gokai, he joined and was immediately on the team, basically. There's no conflict. He was never against him. He was always working with them. So it's nice to see that a Sixth Ranger who joins the team as the adversary part-time is given that respect to be a threat to the team.
Yep. But I don't really like. I thought it was just a fine episode, like nothing too much stand out about it. But you might notice a trend with the King-Ohger, at least for now. Like even like just a great episode. I even like an episode that's just standard is still pretty good. I'm gonna give this one an 8.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this an 8 as well.
Patrick?
7.
Okay. And Anthony?
I had a feeling you would.
Okay, cool. All right, so now we can move on to episode 14, which builds off of what happened in the previous episode, together with Mofun. So I forgot to mention this. There were 2 shoe gods that appeared next to God Tarantula in the previous episode. There was a cicada one and a centipede one. And apparently, Himeno recognizes these from her little flashback that you might remember that we talked about in the previous episode where, you know, regarding the death of her parents and everything. And that causes Himeno to suspect that Jeremy may be behind God's Wrath, which was the big event, which they're going to be emphasizing this God's Wrath thing a lot in these episodes, which gives me the feeling that they're trying to make this like the big plot focus down the road, which is fine. I mean, that's pretty cool. And Jeremy is put under investigation, but then it turns out that he's innocent. He was actually asleep during God's Wrath. And believe it or not, he actually reveals that the Mofun anime, which this is something that's been kind of touched upon. Like Rita has a stuffed animal of like the main character from this anime that she keeps with her, which is absolutely adorable, by the way. That it was created, you know, he had it created specifically to help Himeno cope with the death of her parents. He's given a pardon. He helps the King-Ohgers defeat one of the newest Bugnarok, and then the episode ends setting up another arc where Rockless offers Kaguraki to see his sister, Suzume, who we meet at the end, but we'll talk about that a little bit in the next episode. I have an issue with this episode, but I'll let you guys talk first.
Can I say something first?
Yeah, go for it.
I'll say something. So, I actually did enjoy this episode. First being is that you don't want to piss off Himeno, because she will definitely go off. Like, yeah. It's like
Bruce was just saying, she just steals the calibers back so easily.
Yeah, cause like, I just love the fact that like, she was like the most level-headed one, and she was like the most like calm and collected. But when you see her angry, you see a whole different side of her. It's like, wow, like this is, you know, how she really feels. And it also helps the fact that we know about why she is the way she is because of losing her parents. that anger kind of was like always there, but it just never came out the way it does, and now we see why.
I mean, even when she's angry and showing emotions like she did here, it didn't, in my opinion, impair her abilities as a fighter. It actually,
No.
I think it amplified what she was able to do.
Yeah.
And
I always hate like somebody gets angry, they always get like unfocused and don't fight as well. But here she still fights well even when she's angry.
Yeah.
Yep.
Patrick?
I like that it also showed that she can still be level-headed while being emotional, because when shown the facts, she didn't try to like double down on her accusations. She backed off on it. So
yeah,
for being such a wear your emotions on your sleeve type of person, she's still rational. And
yeah,
it's hard for people to write characters like that for some reason. I don't know why. You either have to be super rational or super blinded by emotions, but we got a character here who can find a balance, you know, and that's it's good character writing when you can do it right.
Yeah, definitely. No, like this episode. So I've always thought Himona's a really good character for the season, but this little arc has probably made her my favorite character for the season.
Yeah.
Same here.
Like, Himeno is just amazing.
I won't refute that Himeno is a bad character. Honestly, my only real issue with this episode, it has nothing to do with the characters. The characters are great in this episode. My issue is with the story, because Himeno has these personal issues, which comes naturally, but I really wish that they drew out this mystery regarding like God's wrath for maybe like one other episode, because I feel like this episode moved a little too fast, and because it's all contained in this one episode, ironically enough, this might feel like the most standard episode in this series, where we have the new Sixth Ranger, he has a problem with one of the team members, then that issue gets resolved, and then they celebrate by destroying the monster of the day together. I mean, that's like a standard post Sixth Ranger. Like, I've pointed this out a couple of times. I don't think I did it I didn't do it in Jew-Ranger, because Jew-Ranger didn't have that type of episode, but like, I talked about it in Gokaiger, and I talked about it in Shinkenger, like, you know, how first episode after Guy has joined the team, he has a problem with Dawn, and first episode after Genta joins the team, he has a problem with Ryunosuke. And I mean, another example, like I think it was in Mega Ranger, like first episode after Mega Silver is around, he has an issue with Mega Black.
Yep, I remember that.
So I'm not saying that this is a bad episode, because it's not. I just wish that they kind of drew out the conflict between Himeno and Jeremy just a little bit longer. But at the same time, I mean, this is a King-Ohger episode, so, and I guess at this point we can say with the standards, even a disappointing King-Ohger episode is still pretty good. It's just not amazing. And just for that, I'm going to give it a 7. I'm not saying it's bad, I just had some issues with it.
Yeah, but I think that point you make about this episode is going to be something I'm going to bring up later, because I think it might be one of my first real problems with this season, and that's I tend to think it's moving too fast now.
Yeah, that's going to be a common thing that I noticed with this batch of episodes too.
Yeah. Because it feels like we're getting near end of season stuff at like a little under the midway point. So I don't know. Because this feels like a revelation that should have happened like in episode like 38 or something. Not
like at least the
14. Yeah, but this is episode 14. I feel like we're a little bit ahead of pace here.
Well, it still doesn't reveal who was responsible for the, you know.
No, but I know, but it still revealed kind of, it still feels like this should have been later.
Well, to me, the story writing here, honestly, the best parallel I've seen is to Sinkinger when we're talking about the parents' era when they're fighting as a Sinkinger team and all the drama they had. So, and that went on throughout the entire season, like we'd reference it here and there. I think this is something we're going to see throughout. And as we go through the season, we're going to get more information little by little. Which, I mean,
Yeah.
looking ahead, we're going to get...
Instead of just like dedicating like a 5-6 episode stretch to the whole thing, like you would in others.
Because now it's organic, right? Like you mention it, you know it's part of Jimenez's past early on, and now you as an audience member can keep that in mind as you go through the rest of the journey with these guys. I don't think it's a bad thing to put it here.
I mean, I'm kind of worried that they're going to start overcomplicating the plot of the show, because a lot of the stuff that I kind of figured was going to happen has already happened, and I thought they were going to happen like 10 episodes down the line and stuff. So I'm starting to get this growing concern that maybe they're going to start overwriting this season a little bit to try to fill out the episodes. They're burning through their ideas too fast.
Do you feel that they're doing the route? Because honestly, the way the pacing is, it kind of reminds me of how Kamen Rider does it, because Kamen Rider has had this, like, does this as well. Not many, like, season, like, early Heisei era doesn't do this, but, like, I want to say, like, the, like, newer era has done this before. Well, they're
the post-decade era?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where they overwrite the story a little bit?
I want to say, like, it doesn't start happening to, like, maybe, I want to say around when Gaim, I want to say, around that.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. It's not bad. It's just something I noticed, too.
But that says something, because, like, this guy, before he was the head writer of Sentai, all he did was Kamen Rider stuff.
There you go. That's probably why.
And that's kind of, like, so, because for it being a show about 5 kings and 5 kingdoms, it's actually quite grounded. But, I don't know, it's just, I can just see this getting a little bit out of control after a while with how quick they're burning through stuff, but I'm hoping I'm wrong.
Let me ask you this, Pat. Let me ask you this question. Talking specifically about Himeno and this King's Wrath thing going on right now, would you have the same opinion of Himeno's character if this revelation about the King's Wrath came at, like, episode 35 onwards? Like,
what do you mean? Like,
so to me, my opinion is having it now lets us feel more about her character early, and it's a part of her. But if you don't ever mention it, reference it, bring it up, and then you drop it out of nowhere, like 20 episodes from now, I don't think the impact is there as much as it is right now.
Well, it's one of those things I'll have to answer that question in hindsight. Like,
yeah,
I feel like this is one of those things where I'm going to have to wait until it's all said and done before I can really, so where I can say if they did it right or not. So it's just like me projecting what I think it could look like based off of what we've seen so far.
Yeah, I'm just pointing out the other perspective to counterpoint.
Yeah, no, I know, but
in that, you know,
it's a difficult question for me to answer because I don't.
Yeah,
I mean, I hope after this,
Who knows?
maybe they'll do a filler episode here and there just to let things.
I mean,
a little bit, because I mean, filler episodes would honestly be them at this point.
Yeah, like personally, I think it could use some to slow the pace down a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I disagree with y'all on that. I am okay with no breathing rooms high-end story. But that's because I'm coming off of like a bunch of different TV shows across different fandoms
Yeah.
that have all been nothing but filler. And I'm not just talking Toku. I'm talking other stuff as well that I'm watching on the side.
Yeah.
So
but again,
nice to see
this
a
is something
story.
that we could. But this will be something we could discuss in hindsight. Like when we get to the end of the show, and we feel like it was like it just overcrowded itself on the back end. We could be like, okay, maybe they should have put in some filler to slow the pace down and everything. But I'm just raising a concern that I have about everything. That,
but I mean,
crossing my fingers,
story,
it's not a problem that we'll have to deal with.
Yeah, but I think too much story is a good problem to have, though. Honestly,
agreed.
If
until
they keep it tame.
Until they start contradicting themselves and making plot holes.
Yeah.
Which is why I
do know
writing the story.
I do know one thing though. When I was watching Q Ranger, oh my bad.
Go ahead, Anthony.
No, go ahead, Anthony.
No, you because you were talking first. I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, it's all good. All I was gonna say is crap. I don't know what I was gonna say anymore. Carry on. Just talk.
My bad. Damn. What I was gonna say was that like I know when I was watching Q Ranger, there was so much filler. I was just like, can you just not give us much filler, please? Like I need like an actual story.
Okay, bouncing off of you, Anthony, and again to remind everyone, I've only seen like the first 15 episodes of Q Ranger up until this point, and
that's more than I've seen.
This Q Ranger is what Patrick is scared of King-Ohger having the problem of, where they do too many things at one time in the beginning, but they don't manage it well to give us stuff to do later. Like, Anthony will probably agree with me, like the first 3-4 episodes are pretty well done.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you get to like episode 7 and 8, it gets silly and stupid and just...
There's too many cooks. There's just too many cooks.
Literally too many cooks. Because I think, was it Yellow who's a cook?
Yes, he is a cook.
Yeah.
It's like, this is a small spoiler for guys, like, there is literally a ranger almost every episode they introduce, and you're just like, can you just not keep introducing more rangers? Like, you already have 9. We don't need to keep adding more and more and more after a while. Like,
literally, but I think by episode 13, we have 12 rangers.
Exactly.
And then, like, I don't know. I haven't watched the rest of Q Ranger, but from what I've read, the basic idea is after these guys are all introduced, we just get fillers throughout. There's nothing else that happens.
Yeah. Nothing but fillers, guys. Nothing but filler. We do get one more ranger, but then he doesn't come till later.
And part of the reason why I'm enjoying King-Ohger so much is because I tried watching Q Ranger earlier in the, like maybe 2 months ago, and it's part of the Sentais that I watched. I was like, oh god, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
But unlike the other one that I'm saying that about, we're doing a podcast on it, so I can't not watch it.
Right.
Do we have a confirmed episode count for the season yet, or no?
No, you don't normally get that until the end.
Okay.
Literally, they're going to tell you, next week is the finale, or next week is the beginning of the final arc.
I would imagine 47 or 48, because that seems to be the number of episodes of Sentai now.
But shockingly, Dawn Brothers was actually 50 episodes.
Oh, okay, then maybe it'll hit 50 then.
No, I was going to say the last couple have been around 48 or 50.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what do we want to give episode 14 out of 10? I gave it a 7 already.
I might give it an 8.
No, I'll give it a 7.
I'm going to give it an 8 too.
Okay, cool. Okay, we can move on to episode 15, which again picks up from a story that was established, that was kind of hinted at the end of the last episode. So we get more introduced to Kaguraki's sister. Her name is Suzume. And we actually find out why she is being held by Raklis. Apparently, in a flashback, we find out that the king of Tofu before Kaguraki, he was actually hoarding food in the midst of a famine during the god's wrath, and that led to Kaguraki staging a rebellion, and that led to him taking over the kingdom. And he got the Demi-Shu gods from Shugodom to help restore the farmlands of Tofu, but in exchange, he had to give up his sister to Raklis, because that's what Raklis does. He's a jerk. And Suzume was his only sister, and, he vowed to protect her, and she's apparently supposed to be a bride for Raklis. Raklis wants to marry her, and Raklis actually agrees to free her in this episode, but she refuses because she's insistent, like, oh, Raklis, I love Raklis, kind of like how Melee was. Okay, not as bad as Rio, but still pretty bad. But it implies that she's doing this more out of a desire to protect Tofu. Then they agree. Jeremy throughout this episode is trying to get peace negotiations with the Bugnarok. And he develops an admiration for Kaguraki because of, Kaguraki's love for his sister. And in this episode, we actually get more about, Jeremy's god Tarantula. It actually has a knight form, like a warrior form. And in the next two episodes, it links up with the Centipede and Cicada Shu gods to form, like, different weapons, which is pretty cool. We'll talk about God Tarantula in a little bit. And the episode ends with Raklis and Desnarok meeting for peace negotiations. So yeah, that's about everything that happens in this episode. What did everybody think of this episode? Anybody want to go first?
Actually, before we start, can I just say one thing? So,
what's that?
The reason I was kind of like laughing at the background, I'm pretty sure I had my thing muted, was because as soon as you said Raklis was that Suzume was gonna be a bride from Raklis, I saw the look on Patrick's face. He was just like, ugh, like, I'm gonna marry him.
As soon as she admitted that she liked him, I was like, something's fishy here.
Yeah. Why? You're like, why? And why wasn't it me? Like,
I mean, you could do better than him. I mean, Jeremy's not a bad-looking guy. You could go with him. Like, I know he's half Bugnarok, but he's not a bad-looking guy.
Yeah, he's human when in the parts that count. Wink, wink.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now it's getting weird.
I'm sorry, children.
Yeah. Did you look or something? Stop that.
But yeah, what do we think of this episode?
I'm not sure.
This episode was weird. Like, not in a bad way weird, just, I don't know how to describe it. The parts where Gira was trying to climb the tower in like a fake bug suit was kind of funny.
Oh, yeah, it was hilarious. I forgot to mention that.
Oh my god.
It was pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie.
Funny, but I kind of was pissed at him because I'm like, dude, if you don't stop with this stupid Tower King, shut up. That was the wrong thing to do with it.
That part of Gira's character is getting on my nerves.
Yeah. Gira losing points in my book.
Yeah.
And he has been for a bit.
I mean, he's not a bad character, but he's got that one little quirk about him that's just driving me crazy.
But I mean,
exactly.
That's the thing I'm noticing with the modern Red Sentai Ranger. They all have a thing that they do. Like, Lucky has to say, "It's Lucky!" every episode.
And then even though I don't mind it now, it kind of annoyed me at first when I was watching Kira Major. The Red from that series would always say Kira May King, which is like, I think he said, I think it means sparking an idea or something like that. He'll say that all the time. He'll literally shout it out and have his hand open out in the air, and he'll like, I got an idea. Like, can you not do that all the time, please? Still a good Red. He just has that one quirk that he does too.
I do like the idea that this episode introduces of the humans in the Bugnarok trying to have peace negotiations, because that's not an approach you've ever seen in a Sentai before.
Yeah.
Even though you know it's gonna go south really quickly. It's just
But they try. That's the thing they do.
Yeah, but even though you knew it was gonna go south, like, let's be real here, it wasn't gonna work.
Yeah, because you don't see freaking, like, let me give you an example. You don't see Paranoia having a O-Ranger having a peace treaty with, what is it? Is it UAO? UAOH?
UAOH, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I liked this episode because it gave more of a backstory for Kaguraki. It's simple, but he's been kind of more of one of the boring King-Ohgers over these last couple of episodes, so just a little bit of backstory is pretty welcome for him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's the beginning of some good character development for that character.
Yeah.
He definitely needed it.
Like I said last time, he was the weakest link of the 5.
I don't think we're going to be able to say that after this batch of episodes.
No.
I don't know
definitely
who I'm
not.
going to say that about. I don't think I can say that anymore.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed this one. Did you want to say anything else about it, Riz?
No, I think we summed it up pretty well.
Yeah, I'm giving this one an 8. I really like this one.
I'm gonna stick on the 7 train.
Okay.
I'm only going to give it a 7 because of Gear's stupidity.
I'm giving it a 7 as well for that.
Yeah. That's... Okay, we got another good episode here. This might be one of my favorites of this bunch, actually. This is kind of a Rita focus episode. Episode 16, the 10-year-old Chief Justice. So apparently it is the 15th anniversary of Rita becoming the new Chief Justice, like the ruler of Gokon. And she actually spends most of this episode being haunted by her very first judgment. We find out in a flashback that she made her judgment against a man named Shiron, who poisoned his wife, who was also the first ruler of Gokon, Karasu. And even though he confessed to being guilty, she suspected that he wasn't guilty. And later on, when she does further investigation, she discovers a toxin that was similar to the one that killed Himeno's parents. And Shiron reveals that God's wrath was carried out by a human, but he couldn't be punished by law. So Karasu offered to keep that person confined herself, and she had to fake her own death, that's what Shiron did. So he's declared not guilty, and he sets off to find Karasu and the person who did cause God's wrath. And the episode ends with Himeno and giving Rita this little muffin plush as a sign of goodwill, which was pretty cute. A little bit of a fun fact, and this is something I love about this episode. This is kind of a little miniature Kamen Rider Drive reunion, because Karasu and Shiron are both played by former cast members. Shiron is played by Kisuke Ida. He was this corrupt cop who, spoiler for anybody who turns out to have done something terrible. I'm not going to spoil it in case we review Kamen Rider Drive, but Karasu is played by.
You want to remember this?
Yeah. And Karasu's actress, her name is Rei Yoshi. She was basically the scientist ally. Her name was Rina, and she was actually a pretty cute character too. I was glad seeing her. Like most people say that, like, the leading lady that I'm not going to go on a huge tangent over this. Like, most people say that the leading lady, I can't remember the main girl cop who gets married to Shinosuke at the end of the show. Like, people say that she's their main crush. Rina was my main crush in that series, so I was happy seeing her again.
Well, I like both, but I was leaning more towards the latter because I think that the maturity, her maturity was more attractive than the younger lady.
But yeah, I'm a huge fan of Kamen Rider Drive, so I like seeing both those actors back.
Yeah, I was like, I know this actor. I know it's the guy first before I know it's her. Because I think what it was that because I was so focused on looking at him, I was like, I've seen him before, but then I see her, I was like, oh, that's her too. So
now, unfortunately, they can't get Kamen Rider Drive's actual actor because he's a big actor now. In fact, he was actually in Detective Pikachu. But but still.
As what?
I don't know. I just know that he was in Detective Pikachu.
he was a trainer. He was just like a Pokemon trainer in that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he's a really big actor. Like, I mean, my wife knows who he is, so that's huge. Like I'm talking like maybe Tom Holland level size big actor right now. So, yeah.
Dude, that's a big actor.
I know. But anyway, enough about the Kamen Rider Drive love. What did we all think about this episode?
I love the. Go ahead, Pat.
This is going to sound a little bit weird given how I just complained about pacing issues, but I don't mind how they handled it in this one because they ended it on a point of like pause at the end where he went to go walk to find Rita's mom. I'm assuming that's who that's supposed to be. They never outright said it, but I'm assuming that's who that is.
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
Yeah, so they had the story arc in on a pause, so I don't mind it being this early on in the show. But it's nice to see that there was some growth in Rita's character from being timid to kind of a little bit cold, but she still has that child side because she basically grew up with no parents.
Mm-hmm.
But probably my favorite part of this episode is at the end when Himeno gave her the doll.
Yeah.
You can tell that Himeno knows that Rita likes the series. You can tell. She knows.
Yeah.
I love that.
Moment.
It was just a nice. It was a very welcomed episode for Rita because I think she needed an episode to show that she has some humility, even though she tries to act like she doesn't.
Riz, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I just love the entire Rita Muffin thing where it's like this neutral, solemn girl who shows no emotion will randomly consult with a Muffin doll about what she's to do next, or just has this huge obsession, has this big ass plushie. I just love it. And then I love at the end when Himeno gifts her that toy and she says, I can't accept it. And Himeno's like, okay, I'm going to leave it here for you and I'm going to walk away. And she turns around and
it's gone.
It's gone.
Oh yeah, when Himeno turns around, the door slams and the thing's gone.
Yeah.
She just smiles like, I knew you'd like that.
Right.
Yeah.
I could do more with Himeno.
Very odd.
Go ahead, Pat.
These two have a very odd chemistry that I kind of like for some reason.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so think of like
different, but they were both affected by God's wrath differently. This episode shows that, but also very similarly. And I really hope they can touch upon this relationship more for the rest of the show.
And like,
me too.
It's interesting that they both had God's wrath happen, and the Muffin character helped them both through it.
Yep.
It kind of, and Patrick will probably agree with me here, given we have a similar background in this, but this kind of feeds the psychology bit of you have to have some kind of thing to ground you after a trauma event happens, and I think this is their trauma event around there.
Yeah, it's a comfort.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, and I like that connection. Because they both grew up without. Yeah, because they both grew up without parents, and you could tell where they took different paths. Like, Himeno is almost still like in her young girl princess phase, where she's like the overly elegant, like Disney princess, and then Rita took it in the almost in like the neglected kind of goth direction, where she's very secluded and kind of cold, but then in private she's a softie.
Yeah.
And it makes these two characters really interesting. Like this episode and a couple episodes back, Rita's really grown on me.
Same.
Yeah, Rita's been growing on me as well, this batch of episodes. And she needed to, because before this, I was kind of getting tired of her full-on neutrality and kind of being this stoic character who doesn't really do anything until the Mothman character's next to her. Mm-hmm. But at least now, having like an explanation for why, it makes it even more, it makes it better to me.
But she's also showing some cracks in that armor a little bit too. Just a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the best part of it. And
do you think
go ahead.
What did I say?
No, I was going to say, I'm just loving that in this batch of episodes, we're getting more of their humanity and what makes them tick, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is a really great... All 5 of them have something that happens to them.
Yeah.
What will we give this? Go ahead, Anthony, I'm sorry.
What was I going to say was that, you think they'll ever, like, explain what's up with the eye?
What's up with the what?
It's
her eye.
Her eye and her mom have. It's called what was the name of it? The condition where you had 2 different colored eyes.
I can't remember what it's called either.
It's on the tip of my tongue. It was
Then pull it off the tip of your tongue. Come on, man.
Let me
know what it is either now.
It's
bug me.
There is a sign. There's a condition term for it. But you guys keep going with your thoughts real quick.
What do we think of the tarantula? Now that
score-wise, I would probably give this an 8, just because.
Yeah. But what do we think of a Tarantula Night?
I said let's give it an 8, just for scores.
Tarantula Night, the Spider Kimonos mech. Now that we've seen it in its night form, like, what do we think of that?
I think it's a fine mech. I mean, it's nothing like top 10 favorite mech for me, you know, but it's still a pretty good mech.
Yeah, it's about what we would expect, given like the first Spider mech that we get in Super Sentai. Like, I mean, I personally like it, but I don't know. I mean, nothing beats the V-Rex/Q-Rex for me. So,
agreed.
Did you find the name of the condition, Patrick?
Yeah, it's called heterochromia. It's an actual condition where you're born with 2 different colored eyes. It's like a condition where you're born with 2 different colored eyes. So that's probably all it is. I think that reveal of her showing that her other eye was a different color was to try to confirm that was her mom that died. I think that's what the connection was supposed to be. But as for Tarantula,
I bet she has that special ability with whatever.
No, it's just a thing. But as for Night Tarantula, I'm loving how nimble and like not stilted these mechs are in this season. Because I'm getting sick of like big lumbering robot. It's nice to have something that can actually move.
Yeah.
Like this thing is swinging around like Spider-Man and hanging off pillars and everything.
Yeah, you were gonna like that.
Yeah.
New package was gonna love that, guys.
It's clear that there's some Spider-Man inspiration with this stuff.
Like, Patrick, if we found your mech for you,
but not even hiding it. It's up there. I'm not even going to deny it.
We found your personal mech. You cannot deny that.
Yeah, that's so awesome. It's like it's like the guy who created Spider Kimonos said hey, there's this guy named Patrick Island. Let me make the best possible Sentai Ranger for him.
You thought Jake and Red's his favorite Ranger, huh?
We'll see about that.
Okay, we'll see about that.
Yeah. Takara who?
Spider-Man.
Takara who?
But yeah, Patrick said he would give it an 8. What about the rest of us?
I'll give it an 8.
I'll give it 8 too.
Yeah, well, I really loved it. I'm going to give it a 9 just because I liked Rita already and I really like her now. So, all right. So now we I think we're kind of moving on into a bigger part of the story here called episode 17. The King Does Not Flee. So, at the end of the previous episode, as part of the peace negotiations, Yanma was was blackmailed into, saying that he needs to, pledge loyalty to Reckless and Shugodem, which of course Yanma being Yanma, he says no. And, we find out that, Jeremy finds out that the Bugnarok don't actually want to stop fighting because apparently, they're going to be reviving, one of the, this powerful warrior named Daigorg. And, and Reckless actually reveals that he agreed to help resurrect Daigorg as a sign of peace because even though he's being used by the Bugnarok, he doesn't really care because he gets to maintain power over Shugodem, and he literally says that he would sell his soul to the devil himself if it meant he would obtain power. Was just such an amazing guy, isn't he? He's got my vote for leader of the year.
Spoken like a true politician.
Right. The Sugar Kingdom is the best kingdom of all time.
Jesus Christ.
We get
I hate how on the nose that is.
Yeah. So we get a fight between the King-Ohgers and the Bugnarok where Jeremy resorts to deciding that, he has to defeat everyone in order to force peace. He actually combines God Tarantula with King-Ohger. It's not given an official name though. They fight off a Bugnarok, but then Reckless arrives and with his own, God Kuwagata Zero and he blasts them away. Rita and Himeno are trying to save the people from Inkosopa as it's about to be invaded. Then Daigorg arrives. He makes his big debut and he beats both Yanma and Jeremy into submission. And Reckless arrives and he once again demands that Yanma surrender, but Yanma of course refuses. And then we get a big cliffhanger where Gira, who keep in mind everybody except the King-Ohgers think that Gira is dead right now. Gira shows up and he saves Yanma and vows that he will defeat Reckless as the episode ends.
Dude, that took so long for Gira to make himself known if he's still alive. I was impressed long to keep that secret with the way Gira is.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do we think of this episode?
Episode, I've lost count of how can we make Reckless the most unlikable piece of human excrement alive.
Exactly.
That's you said a mouthful.
I know, right? But man, they're really nailing it. Reckless is such a well-written villain character. Probably the first time I would consider us having a true evil Sentai Ranger. And he is so good in that role. That scene where he thought Yanma was dead and he started laughing maniacally was just gee whiz. This guy is unhinged more so than I thought. Yeah, chilling was a good word to describe it. But that moment when Gira showed back up and gave him the death glare, I was like, oh man, this is about to get good. this episode was very tense in a good way. So.
Yeah, but I mean, most of it kind of, sets up for what's going to happen. I actually like how this episode kind of furthers Jeremy's story now, where he kind of has given up on trying to have there be peace between the two. Like, it kind of subtly furthers his story.
He's finally starting to realize that the Bugnarok are too stubborn.
Yeah.
Humanity's not going to stop if they're going to keep getting attacked. And it actually breaks him a little bit.
I liked it.
Dude, I love that it broke him.
Yeah, me too.
Again, every character is getting some kind of, not like an existential crisis, but like you're all getting something major happening to them right now.
Yeah, like, because usually when a character like this, where they're like kind of like talks of both sides wanting to work together, and then they don't cooperate, they go all scorched earth. But I'm glad they took this route of him just being like, I don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah.
It's refreshing. I like that they did that with him. With someone being so like high and mighty, and now he's just like laying on a ball in the corner. It's kind of funny.
I'll probably give this, Riz, did you want to say anything about this episode?
Yeah, I think the best part of this episode is definitely Jeremy coming to the realization that his tactics and his philosophy may not jive with what's the true nature of the world he's come to. I also think the entire, like, Rackless and Desnarak thing is pretty interesting here.
I'm probably going to give this episode. I really like this episode, and I'm really liking the story arc that's coming. I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. Really.
I got a 9.
I'm 8.
You're always one below us.
No, I'm saving my 9s for. No, I'm just going to say this right now. I'm saving my 9s for these next 2 episodes because they're actually 9s at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that allows us to transition to episode 18, The Crown of Beginnings, where the big thing in this episode is that Rockless reveals that he has this new weapon while he's battling with Gira. He at the beginning when he's battling Gira and, he has to fight against Daigorg for a little bit, he unveils this crown, which, he can put on. It transforms him into, I don't like to use the term battleizer since that's a Power Rangers term, but that's kind of what it is. So yeah, it's a battleizer basically. It's basically a king form where he gets this golden armor form and the crown gets equipped to a lance. And we actually find out in a flashback that it's a crown that's passed down through the royal family. And he was actually shown revealing it to Gira when they were kids. But apparently the crown is useless without the lance. Kaguraki is caught sneaking through Shogotem's castle, during which, there's like a big scheme between him and Suzume, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. And he actually reveals that his loyalty to Rockless, Kaguraki's loyalty, has been a ruse the whole time. He was looking for a key to activate the King-Ohger Zero thing, and Suzume actually helped him obtain it, and he actually steals the lance and he gives it along with the crown to Gira, and that allows Gira to transform into what's called King Kuwagata Ohger, which just to pause real quick, and you guys can give your thoughts on this form too. I love this form. It reminds me a lot of Kamen Rider Blade's King form from Kamen Rider Blade, and that's actually one of my favorite Kamen Rider final forms. Like that is. If this were to be adapted into Power Rangers and counted as a battleizer, it would be a top battleizer for me, honestly. I really like the look of the form. But what do you guys think of it?
My only complaint with the form is, I know there's a slight accent of red you can see on the suit to indicate it's still Gira, but I wish it had a little bit more red or a little bit more gray for Rackless.
Yeah.
Like, it's a small thing. It's a very small nitpick. Overall, yeah, I agree with you. This is a great battleizer, and I think it's a great looking thing, but
Yeah,
it's just a little bit more red.
I agree with you. Yeah, because when Rackless had it on, it looked like he had gold armor over his base outfit, but when Gear puts it on, it's a completely new outfit.
Yeah.
Like, why does he not have, like, the red piece with, like, gold armor over it instead of it's just a full gold outfit? That kind of bothers me. But it looks good otherwise, yeah.
I mean, and in a way, it also kind of reminds me of, maybe just because, it has the medieval knight theme to it. It kind of reminds me of Wes's Red Battle Warrior from Time Force. And that, I might actually call that my favorite battleizer in Power Rangers. So that's actually a good thing. Well, it's either that or Shane's battleizer. That was a pretty good one too. We'll talk about.
I think Wes wins.
Yeah. But anyway, so Gira is able, so he uses, so now Gira has the King-Ohger Ohger form, and he's able to use the crown to unite every shoe god. So this includes Ultimate King-Ohger plus the ones that Jeremy uses, to form Extreme King-Ohger. They have this big fight with King-Ohger Zero, during which Gira gets a little bit. He actually gets really angry with Rockless this time because the flashback shows that Rockless had a little bit more of a noble dream of uniting people, and Rockless is all like, "Man, I was just a dumb kid when I said that stuff, Like, this is reality now, man." And that's what So Gira beats Rockless into submission, and then the episode ends with him, with Rockless fleeing back to his castle, only to find out, oh no, it's been seized by the Bugnarok. Literally no one could have seen this happening except, oh my god, everybody saw it happening.
What? No.
Never. What are you
Yeah.
talking about?
So what do we all think about this episode, guys? And Patrick, you said that you thought this was a genuine 9, so how about you start off with this?
Yeah, Patrick, go first.
I'm giving it a 9 genuinely because, haha, get punked Rackless, take this L.
Right.
He finally took a loss, and seeing him limp back into his throne room was so satisfying, I swear, man.
Where's my squires?
Oh no, yeah, where are my servants? Why am I having to limp to my throne all by myself like a peasant?
And it makes Kaguraki look good too, because that whole ruse that he pulled was pretty genius, actually.
Yeah.
I do need to say something about this too. Before this episode aired, I was actually starting to get agitated with him as a character because it felt like his alignment was a roulette wheel. There was no consistency to it whatsoever. And this episode finally, Kaguraki.
Oh yeah.
His alliance was an RNG, a random number generator. It was completely different. It was completely different every time he opened his mouth. But this time we finally got some kind of like stability with him, I guess.
For now.
And it's about goddamn time.
Okay. But in all seriousness, I didn't mind Kaguraki's flip-flopping because it kind of demonstrates another form of king or monarchy.
Yeah.
Where you have that one king who's kind of they go with whatever looks like the strongest side of the moment, so that they can end up on the winning team at the end no matter what.
Still didn't make for fun watching though, because it made him feel what's the word I'm looking for?
Weak.
Yeah,
Weak as
it made him
character.
look weak. Yeah.
Because I had the same feeling. That's why I didn't like Kaguraki as much in the beginning, the first arc.
Yeah.
Because he always felt like the weakest link of the group. But now that we've seen the sister and that plot and his real goal,
Yeah.
I actually have a lot of respect for the guy. He's still not my favorite by any means of the word favorite, but
I agree with that for sure. But
he's definitely a good character now.
we have a little bit of character stability too, just what this guy desperately needed.
The thing was though, like, he's the type of guy he's playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. That's the type of guy he is.
Yep.
No, he's playing 3D chess.
3D chess. It's still chess though, so I mean.
And I think this episode does a bit more to like flesh out the Gira and Raklis conflict, because like Gira now all of a sudden remembers like Raklis, you had all these like, you seem like a legitimately noble person when we were kids. Like, where did all that happen? And then Raklis is like, I was a naive little kid when I had all these good dreams. Now I'm just a jerk who wants power, because that's reality. Like,
I used to be a nerd, now I'm a jerk.
Yeah, everyone loves me. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm agreeing with that.
He's gonna whip, now I'm a jerk.
It makes me question what happened to Raklis that made him like go down this pathway, because we don't really know kind of like his journey from childhood to king too much.
Wasn't there like a 3-part story arc where like it was like a spin-off where like it involved just him somewhere on YouTube?
I'm not sure. I mean, if the explanation is just simply that he became king and became so obsessed with power, I mean, that's a cliche, but I'd be okay with that. Like,
it'd be cliche, but I would like a little bit more to it than that, if there is anything more to add to it.
But I'm gonna.
Yeah, there is. There's like a 3-part story arc, like a spin-off story, like kind of like how Kamen Rider does this most of the time too. So it's one of those things.
Yeah, but I'm gonna agree with Patrick. I'm gonna give this one a 9.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a 9 as well.
That's a 9.
Cool. All right, now we're going to move on to episode 19, which is literally the name of the Sentai, Ohsama Sentai King-Ohger, and there's a reason for that. We'll get to that in a little bit. So the Bugnarok has seized Shugodom, and Raklis makes a speech at sword point, basically declaring that there's like a new era where the Bugnarok have to coexist with humanity, and Rita, Himeno, and Kaguraki rush to Shugodom, and Yama and Jeremy. So this is probably one of the best parts of the episode. Yama and Jeremy, they decide, Raklis screwed us both over, so how about we come together and we screw with him? And they unite together. Raklis gets kicked out of the castle because he didn't want to kill one of his servants that spoke against the Bugnarok, and then he runs into Jeremy and Yaman is all like, "Oh my God, you guys are here! Thank you. You guys will help me, right?" And then they're like, "No, you suck." And then they play a prank on him where they okay, a couple of episodes ago, Yama tried to pull this prank on Raklis where they make like this new like sitting cushion, and when he sat on it, it was gonna, make a farting sound like a whoopee cushion, but it failed. So then they actually pull it this time, like he gets tied up in spider web and then he's forced to like sit down there. So it's really funny and it's satisfying. It's satisfying to see Raklis just be like this squirming idiot now. And then, when he retreats back to the castle, the 6 King-Ohgers, they all come together and they've, declared that with the Bugnarok having become more dangerous and taking over one of the kingdom, they formed this alliance to protect the citizens of all kingdoms. And that is Ohsama Sentai King-Ohger. So yeah, they're like all like officially a team. We get this big, like full 6-team Ranger Henshin, which is absolutely awesome. They fight off the Bugnarok. They force the 2 bosses, Desnarok and Kamijim, to retreat. And then they use Extreme King-Ohger to defeat a monster. And then the episode ends with Gira challenging. So they can't arrest Rockless for what he's done since Yanma got even with him through that prank. So Gira challenges him to a trial by combat. Patrick, once again, you gave this a 9 out of 10. So you want to go first?
Actually, I'm giving this a 10 because I think this is the best episode of the season up to this point.
I was going to agree with you on that and say it's a 10 as well.
Yeah,
this was just... Yeah.
You go.
No, you go.
This just felt like... It's weird because this really does feel like closure in some ways. I don't know. And it kind of goes back to that point of feeling like the pacing of the season is a little bit too quick because this felt like finale territory we were in, but that didn't take away from just how satisfying it was seeing everybody come together and finally like put aside their differences and say, no, we're a team and we're getting this crap done. And then they actually fight the two main Ragnarok generals back.
Yep.
Which is, you don't see that happen too much at like the midway point of a Sentai where they knock the main antagonist backwards. Mm-hmm. So, you have that moment where you have a big fight scene with the theme song playing. It's just too good. Like this is great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This is what a Sentai should look like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Zero Ranger and Gekko Ranger.
I think the only complaint I would make is that I kind of wish that maybe they fleshed out the idea of the Ragnarok being in control of one of the major kingdoms for like maybe one more episode, but I don't know, maybe that's a plot that they could potentially bring up again.
It'll probably come back at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind that being brought back again, because that would actually be a good opportunity for a little bit more story after this whole big batch.
Do we need more story?
Yeah, I mean, well, after the next episode, with bringing closer to a lot of major stuff, I mean, it wouldn't hurt for like a change of pace with what they're doing.
Yeah, no, you're right.
But yeah, I'm agreeing. I'm gonna give this one a 10 out of 10. It was a great episode. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, so I'm gonna give it a 9. I'm only gonna give this a 9 for one simple reason, because I'm giving 10 out of 10 for the next episode. There you go.
And Riz?
Well, the next one does deserve a 10 also.
I already said it's a 10.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was agreeing with me. He gave it a 10 also.
Oh, okay.
Man, here we go.
Let's move on to the next big one. And keep in mind, this is the episode where after Anthony watched it, he called me while Riz and I were doing our Rebels review. So, anyway, this is called Duel of King and King, where we have this bit. So before, at the beginning of the episode, Rackless and Suzume get married, although it's clear that they're only getting married because of, one of those political marriages to unite kingdoms. And Rackless tries to use that leverage on his new brother-in-law to steal the lance so that he can use the king form again. Gira and Rackless, so Rackless was able to resume power during the duel and Gira's put in jail, and then they meet and they begin their second trial by combat while Rackless is using the king form. And Gira defeats Rackless in the duel, and he demands that Rackless renounce his corruption and go back to the dream that he had, but Rackless just scoffs at it, says he'll kill Gira. The big moment is like in the middle of a duel, Rackless's servant, his name is Boshimaru. He arrives and he tries to kill Gira with this lance that he stole from Kaguraki, but it turns out that he had been the second in command of the Ragnarok, Kami Jim, the whole time. He was a
I knew it. I told y'all.
Yeah, this was Anthony's big thing. And keep in mind, this whole duel is being, broadcasted to everyone, and everybody's cheering for Rackless. But then Rackless, when he vows that he's going to remain king and that he just views the people as just a bunch of useless pawns, they turn on him and they start rooting for Gira. Gira takes the King-Ohger form and he defeats Rackless, and Yeah, Rockless is sent flying off the cliff, and I guess we can assume, at least for now, that Rockless is dead. Good riddance. And
Na 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 na.
Yeah, he's not actually dead. They're not going to put a close on that
I
story
wish
this
he was.
quickly.
Yeah, he's definitely come back.
but the episode does
He'll
end
come back.
with Gira being formally declared the king of Shugodom. And that's it. What do we all think of this episode, guys? And Anthony, you can do your little victory lap, Anthony. Go ahead.
Episode ever because I was right. I told y'all. I told you. Now, okay, to be fair, to be fair, I only was right about him being. He wasn't him the whole time. I would assume. At some point, he ended up killing the original Squire, only to take his place afterwards. So, but to be fair, it could have happened at the very beginning of the series, if you think about it.
No, we don't know, but yeah.
But he said, "Oh yeah, I killed him. Like he's somewhere dead in a ditch somewhere. I killed him. He's gone." And I was like, "Dang!" I'm glad I was right, but when I heard that, I was like, "Dang!" Like, it's a little messed up though. But now I can kind of say that this was kind of more interesting because I figured something was up because every time something happens with the Shugo Kingdom or whoever in the King-Ohger's lands or whatever, somehow the Bugnarok knew what was going on. I'm just like, how do they know certain things? Because for instance, the episode where that same minion went to Gokon and stole what was it? I think was it one of the was it one of the shoe gods that he stole?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
How did he know that that was at?
Mm-hmm.
See?
Yeah.
There's a very simple explanation for this.
Riz, we don't. Riz, we're not going to use super.
Well, I can do you one better. This is a Ranger quote. He's a spy.
Okay, that's better because that's from a good Sentai.
Yeah.
I mean, Power Rangers season, but the only thing that, and I mean, I guess if Rockless turns out to not really be dead, I mean, this will negate what I'm saying. I just feel like this episode should have been maybe just pegged down just a little bit more, maybe at the midway point, but again, I mean, I want to hold that for hindsight to see how this season ends, because maybe if the story continues to be good, then this ends up being the perfect timing for this arc, but that's really the only problem that I have with this one. Aside from that, it was really great, and seeing Rockless get defeated is so satisfying.
I mean, it was a long time coming. And honestly, this episode feels like we're closing an arc in a way.
Yeah.
But I also don't think Gira will be king for the remainder of the season. I think he's going to either give away the throne or he'll be dethroned by Rockless coming back or something.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind that, though, because I love power struggle stories.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that was a really beautiful battle. I thought Gira gave a really passionate speech to his brother, trying to remind him of the good old days. And his brother pulled a typical, I'm a rat bastard, I'm going to betray you kind of thing at the end.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's true colors for everybody then.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved how when Gira had him down, he actually gave him an ultimatum, one last Hail Mary to try to get him to, to repent his sins, basically, and he didn't fall for it. But, yeah, him getting exposed and then getting dropped like a sack of potatoes was just too satisfying.
Exactly, yeah.
Do we all agree?
Have you ever watched a show where the story was so good that it got to the point where you actively started rooting for one of the characters like you're watching a sports event?
You know what?
You're just like, that's what I was doing here when Gira put on the crown and became the king of King-Ohger. I was almost catching myself cheering for him, like.
Okay.
That's how you know the writing is good.
Yeah.
I was doing similar stuff to you, Patrick, but my response to your question is, yeah, this has happened to me in the past. In the last week, actually. So as you all know, I've already listened to the whole audio drama once through. And there are some key scenes where I'm driving and listening to this thing, and I have to just say,
oh no.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That's a great moment right there. And even in my re-listen I'm doing right now, there's a scene where they're bringing the Megazord together for the first time, and all I can say is, yes! Let's do it! Let's go!
Let's go. Megazord time.
LFG!
I love stuff like this when the writing and everything gets so good where you just like, you turn into a fan, like outright, like in
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah,
okay, I mean,
that's what this did for me.
we're fans,
No, I mean like,
but, you know.
no, but I mean like a sports fan where you're like in the crowd cheering it on and stuff. Like
For your favorite team, or team member.
Yeah, it takes a lot for a story to be written so well that it gets you to do that, but I was reminded of when
I can relate.
I was quickly, because I felt like I was back watching Digimon Sabers for the first time, where Shine Greymon opened his hand and Mastery was there getting ready to punch Karada in the face. It was the same feeling I had the first time I got that moment in Sabers.
Or, you know, to continue the Digimon train for a second, I teared whenever I saw Marcus punching Malomyotismon. I thought that was pretty...
Hunters.
Yeah.
Because I've already compared Rackless to Karada a few times in terms of being a villain that's written so, you know, unlikable that you can't help but like him as a character. And
I think Karada's worse, honestly.
Somehow. But yeah.
It's worse, but he's also on the same level, I think.
Yeah. Because I'm not saying that, like, you know, because Karada did some really messed up things in here, and not saying that, you know, Rockless didn't do anything bad. Like, I'm not saying that he did anything he's not as bad, but I'm saying, like, as far as like how he does things in the Digimon series was like a little bit worse than what Rockless did. Rockless still is so awful. Don't get me wrong, but he's not like he's not genociding. He didn't genocide people. Yeah.
I was about to say Rackless was basically just being a typical politician. Karada was committing mass genocide. Let's be real here.
Yeah.
Actively committing mass genocide. Screw him.
Right.
But if you gave Rockless the opportunity,
he would.
He probably
would. He would.
Oh yeah.
100%.
Do we agree though that this episode gets a 10 out of 10?
Yes.
Yeah.
10 out of 10, definitely.
All right, cool.
Was that our first unanimous 10?
I think so.
It'll never happen again.
Never happen again.
Yeah, enjoy the moment.
Okay, we get to wrap this up on a bit of a calmer note. Next episode this is actually probably the first filler episode that we get, which is not a big deal because it's not even a bad filler episode.
No.
So this episode, Gira is put through a lot of trials by the King-Ohger since, you know, he's now formally the king of Shugodom. You know, they're making a lot of series of demands toward him now that he's the king, and they engage him in a lot of trials. Like Yanma has him in a trivia contest. He has to be in a piano competition with Himeno. He has a cook-off with Kaguraki and a test to be able to keep a straight face with Rita, and he loses all of them.
Yeah. Because apparently, this is like a trial if one of the kings ends up like winning all the matches or whatever, that he gets to choose. Like he's basically in charge of everything. He gets to like make the decisions of like what rules and applies or whatever. That's what the original king of the shoe gods, he won all the contests so that he got to pick the demands or whatever.
Yep. There's also a side plot with Douga. He's a former aide to Rackless who's going between each of the other kingdoms to find a new job serving one of the other kings, but then he decides to return to Shoegodom, and he actually begins working with Gira, helping him, run the kingdom. Most of the episode is just a clip show, recapping a lot of the previous events, but then we get a brief final battle at the end where Gira repels a Bugnarok attack himself, and then he vows that he'll be a great king as the episode ends. What do we all think of this one? I mean, there's not much to talk about with this one, but
honestly, this isn't really even filler, to be honest, because it's the natural progression of Gira and the aftermath of becoming king and trying to learn, and do the next steps of being a king. So I wouldn't even call this filler. It's more lighthearted than what we've been getting for a while.
But it did feel like it's slowing things down a little bit to where we can breathe after everything that's happened.
Okay, we get one episode of breathing. I don't know if we're going to get that in the next episode, but we might. But even if we don't, it's definitely welcome to have a little bit of breathing room here.
Yeah. I think the reason why this feels like a filler because of the clips, because how they did it was when what's the guy's name again? Nate?
Which guy?
The one that the former the one that was trying to get different jobs as an assistant in the different kingdoms. Goga.
Yeah.
So yeah, Goga was basically like being interviewing or whatever, and then they show kind of like he kind of explains who is who in the King-Ohgers basically.
Yeah.
But I can see I honestly see what you mean, Nate, because this wasn't a bad episode per se. It was just kind of just like, it was a decent one because they kind of developed Gira, because like now that Gira is now king, like what does he do? Like how he's going to be king? Is he going to continue doing that annoying tyrant facade? He's still going to do that? Because only if he did that was because of his brother, and now that his brother got the picture, will he continue to do it? Well, we already know why, because they already happened in the episode. But now it's kind of just like, does he really need to keep doing that though? But that's just cool.
I think he'll start to calm down a little bit now.
But I think
it's also nice to see that the series can do comedy when it puts its mind to it, because this episode was legitimately kind of funny in places.
Yeah.
I think it's funny every time Gira fails.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
He only pressed one key on the piano and got electrocuted.
Okay. So, I'm just going to throw this out there, and this is my one rant I'm going to give real quick. This is how you do an episode where your Red Ranger has to do a trial, and even though he fails with grace, and he fails with no real stakes or nothing bad really happens. Unlike with a certain Red from a certain Sentai who can't even attempt to do the challenge and just says, no, I don't want it. It's too hard. I don't like it.
He didn't even try.
Mm-hmm. Like, Gira tried. But Gira just couldn't do it. And that's
let's be real, guys. Like, let's be real, guys. He only failed because they literally set him up.
Yeah. No, they set him up.
Yeah, of course they did.
Yeah. Because they knew like, oh, it's gonna be easy, like, it's gonna be light work, because like, I don't think they did it because to be malicious. I think they did it because they figured like, because they dealt with Rockless for so long, they kind of feel like, for Gira, they'll probably be like, oh, he's not gonna take it personal.
No, I mean, they didn't even like, they're still going to probably defer to Gira for everything, which is fine. But they're probably going to, Gira will probably, like, you know, he'll simmer out. He's not going to be as extreme. And he's going to try and be king now because he has no other option.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Like, it's not, he can't be that whole fake tyrant BS that guy kind of needs to stop a little bit because it's going to get serious now because, like, now he's in charge of an entire kingdom now.
Yep.
But I think what's interesting about the list of demands that the other kingdoms wanted only benefit Shugot in some way. It wasn't like anything selfish. It was more or less they wanted to help out in their own way.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I thought this episode was fine. I mean,
Yes.
you get plenty of time to breathe, but it's still not amazing, but it's entertaining. I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10.
I'd give it
It's not
Same
bad.
here.
Yeah, that's a 7.
Okay, well that wraps up the episodes. The only real thing that we have left to talk about, we do the villain analysis, which, I mean, we've already established that we think Rackless is like the most disgusting person to ever walk on the face of the earth, so we don't really need to talk about that.
It's on loser.
And we don't even have to mention Desnark exists because Desnark doesn't really do much.
Yeah, neither is Kame Jim.
Jim at least did something. I will give him that.
But yeah, the Bugnarok are
The
still
Bugnarok
pretty
continue.
boring.
Yeah,
But even with that one theory of mine being right, he still has a lot more to prove than just, oh, he was a spy and he pretended to be somebody else. That's great and all, but like, do you have anything else besides that?
well, maybe now that Gira is out of that Rackless is out of the picture, maybe the Bugnarok will start having more prominence.
Yeah. Because they can't rely on Rockets anymore.
Yeah,
because,
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
They might, but Rockless might also come back next episode for all we know.
And I wonder, will he try to like imitate somebody else now? Because he's like, oh, well, since I can't imitate the other guy, because the other guy is kind of like, the cat's out of the bag with that identity, should I change over to somebody else and take their spot?
It'll be something to pay attention to for sure.
Yeah.
So I guess the only real thing that we have left to do is update our ranking of each of these Rangers. Anybody want to go first on that?
I'll do it.
Sure, go
Himeno's still number 1. I would probably put Jeremy at 2, and then Yanma, and then Rita, then Gira, and then Kaguraki.
You would still put Kaguraki last? Really?
They improved on him. They gave him more material to work with, but I still don't particularly like his role in the team.
I guess that's fair.
I think Patrick and I have almost an identical list except for like 1 or 2 things. So Himeno at top. I don't think Jeremy is second. I still think Yanma's my second favorite. Jeremy's my third.
Yeah, it's an either
Jeremy's my
one.
third. Then Rita, then Gira, then Kaguraki.
Okay, I think my list might be similar to Riz's as well because mine is actually, it's Jeremy first, Himeno second. I will only making Yama third only because of if Himeno and Jeremy were in the picture, then he will be my first. But because those 2 characters are there, I have to put him third. It's just no way about it. And of course Rita's gonna be 4th. She's still good. I can't put her above those 3. I'm sorry. Gira is 5, and Kakaragi is still 6.
All right, Nate. Let's hear where you put Kaguraki.
I'm not gonna put him The only thing I would disagree with you guys, maybe I would put Gira below Kaguraki, but he would still be number 5 for me.
Okay.
So I would put Jeremy. Jeremy is still a great character. This may be controversial, but I've always been a fan of Rita this whole time, so she's number 2.
That's fine. That's fair.
I get why. What was that, Patrick?
I don't blame you for putting her up there.
Yeah.
I
get why you guys
out of her character.
Yeah. I get why you guys like Himeno more. That's why I'm putting her at number 3. Like I get what you're saying about her being better than Rita. It's a personal preference of mine. Then I would put Yanma. Yanma is still a great. I don't know. These first 4 are so difficult to rank because they're all great characters. But then you have
I put him as 3rd because I was like, I couldn't put him.
I mean, the 4 characters at the top could be in any order, and I wouldn't argue with you.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, Gira, for all his shortcomings, he is also not a bad character overall by the end of it.
No.
Because
worst case scenario, he's a B tier red.
Yeah, he's a B tier.
Yeah.
I think Kaguraki is more like a C tier character right now, though.
Yeah, I can sympathize with that. I don't know. I guess I got kind of annoyed with Gira playing up the evil king, like doing the fake evil laugh. That just kind of annoyed me a little bit. So
yeah.
While he did the fake evil laugh, it was to demonstrate how absurd Rakdos is being in comparison.
Yeah,
that's fun of him.
But yeah, I guess my ranking is just a little bit different, but I mean, I think we can all agree that like Kaguraki and Gira are near the bottom, and the first 4 they're all just so great that like you could put them in any order, and it wouldn't be that disagreeable.
Yeah.
Man, I guess the only thing else I can say is that, King-Ohger's looking good. I just hope that they can maintain this good story momentum from this point forward. But I have faith.
I think they're going to do it.
Because, I mean, Kamen Rider tends to have a lot of these things where, like, they play a lot of story trump cards early and then they continue the story and they do it pretty good. Like Anthony, you mentioned Gaim. I think Gaim handled that type of storytelling pretty good. Like, yeah, we have to take a look at Gaim at some point on this podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, I mean, I have faith because, I mean, this guy did Kamen Rider, and Kamen Rider is much more story driven than Sentai a lot of the time these days. So I'm very optimistic about the writer being able to maintain this.
I mean, fingers crossed, but the concern is still there. But I'm hoping they land the stick the landing.
But if he's able to pull this off, I mean, I really, this may be a bold statement because he's only written one Sentai, but this one Sentai alone might be able to like have him be like, okay, not immediately on par, but if he writes maybe like one other good Sentai, he could be on par with who is, in my opinion, the GOAT Sentai writer, Yasuko Kobayashi, who did Shinkenger, Time Ranger, King of Man. Like, I mean, I'm not going to say he'll be better than her, but still pretty good.
Good first impression.
Yeah.
That. But anyway, anybody else want to give their closing thoughts?
Best.
That was right. That's all I gotta say.
Best Sentai in years, Riz?
Best Sentai of the year.
Well, it's the only Sentai of the year.
No, but I mean, like, of the Sentai I've watched this year.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's fair.
Because we watched Shinkenger and Gokaiser last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is the first Sentai of the Reiwa era that I've watched, and yeah, I mean, I hope that the Reiwa era can still keep good Sentais like this. I mean, I hear Kira Major and Zenkaiser are good, but I mean, this might be the best one according to what I'm hearing from some people.
Yeah, Kira Major, Dawn Brothers, and Zenkaiser are some of the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then Ryu Soldier was the first of the Reiwa era, and I don't know anybody who likes Ryu Soldier.
I have never met somebody that likes it.
I'm on Twitter a lot now, and just about everybody who I follow who's Toku people are just in love with this season. So I'm assuming the Japanese audience is in love with it just as much. I haven't been able to like keep up with like ratings and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
it's got to be loved over there too, because this is one of those seasons that we were talking about when we were talking about Jetman, where you can write something that can appeal to both the younger audience and the adult audience, and this is doing it.
Yeah.
Yep. Is that it, guys?
Yeah.
That's it, man. Take us home.
All right. Well, this wraps up episode 99 of the Toku Secrets podcast. So next time, as I said, for our 100 episode special, we'll be doing a tier ranking of our favorite Red Rangers. We're going to be sticking to mostly the Reds. We're not going to include everyone. Like, I don't think we'll have Eric or Hunter in there, but you know, most of the big Reds. We're definitely looking forward to that. And our next couple of podcasts, we'll be doing episode 22 of King-Ohger, just a short, like maybe 45 minute podcast on that. And then, but a big thing is that our next G-Ranger podcast will be our last G-Ranger podcast.
Thank God.
God.
Yeah. And then we can finally move on to some great Sentai. But anyway, we thank everybody who is watching this, whether you're on YouTube or you listen to us on Spotify or iTunes. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave comments down below with your thoughts on King-Ohger or anything else you want to cover, you want to see us cover. And, you know, we will, anytime we see comments, we'll take the time to read them out at the beginning of the podcast. Your commentary means a lot to us. We will see you guys next time for our 100th episode special. We thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen to us. But until that time, for our 100th special, you guys all stay safe. We love you, and may the power protect you.